Saram students, let's begin with the class 8 history. We are doing the second part of the revision today, the revision of chapter number 3, that is ruling the countryside. Now let's go through the content one more time. The company becomes the divan, even the crops for Europe. These two topics, first topic we completed fully, and the second topic we just started with the 2-3 points, and remaining we will continue today. And the third point is the Blue Rebellion and after. Now, in the second topic, first topic, the company becomes the one. Let us just have a revision like what have we have learned. What are the topics? Revenue for the company, we saw that. The need to improve agriculture and the problem faced by them with the system. Then a new system is devised, that is the Mahalwari system, then the Monroe system. And then again, all was not well in that system also. Then the crops for Europe. Then does color have a history? Why the demand for Indian indigo? These two topics we have learnt in the first revision session. Now in today's session we will start with Britain turns to India. How was indigo cultivated? The problem with niche cultivation. Indigo on the land of riots. How was indigo produced? Britain turns to India. See, we know that is faced with the rising demand for indigo. Indian indigo was in great demand in Europe, right? This is what we know. So the company in India looked for the ways to expand the area under indigo cultivation. So they wanted to adopt a policy something in that way which will increase the production of Indian indigo. Then from the last decades of the 18th century, indigo cultivation in Bengal expanded rapidly. By 1810, we can say the proportion had gone up to 95%. Actually, if we'll talk previously in 1788, it was 30%. But if I'll talk about the year 1810, from 1788 to 1810, the proportion had gone up to 95%. So as the indigo trade grew, commercial agents as well as the officials of the company, they also began investing in indigo production. Over the years, we could see many company officials, they left their jobs to look after their indigo business. So this is what like the officials, they left their jobs and they also started coming towards this indigo business only. So attracted by the prospect of, because everybody was with the mindset like the profits are very high in this indigo plantation. That is the reason numerous Scotmen, Englishmen, they came to India and they became the planters here. Those who had no money to produce indigo could not get loans from the company and the banks that were coming up at that time. So this is what was the situation at that time. Now let's see how was indigo cultivated. There were two main systems of indigo cultivation. One was the niche cultivation and another one was the rarity system. Now what was there in niche cultivation? See, within the system of niche cultivation, the planter produced indigo in lands that he directly controlled. Then he either bought the land or rented it from other zamindars and produced indigo by directly employing hired laborers. This is what it was done in the niche cultivation. But again, there was some problem with the niche cultivation. What were the problems faced there? The planters, they were finding it difficult to expand the area under niche cultivation. Why? Because indigo could not be cultivated only on fertile. Indigo could be cultivated only on fertile lands only. And these were all these were all already densely populated areas. Lands were densely populated. So only small plots scattered over the landscape could be acquired. That was the problem. See, planters needed large areas in compact blocks to cultivate indigo in plantations. But they could get only the small plots, right? This was the problem. Then what could they do after that? Then they attempted to lease in the land around the indigo factory. What they did, they took the land on lease then and evict the peasants from the area. But this always led to conflicts and the tension. Then what happened now? nor was labor was also it was not easily mobilized. So what happened, a large plantation required a vast number of hands to cooperate, because the work that was required in the indigo plantation, it was not like the many helping hands were required in that. And labor was needed precisely at a time where when peasants were usually busy with rice cultivation, whereas the peasants, they were busy with their work with the rice cultivation. So niche cultivation on a large scale also required many plows and bullocks. It requires a large number of plows and bullocks. So 1 biga of indigo cultivation required 2 bullocks. This meant that, now children, let's understand the meaning of biga. What is that biga? A unit of measurement of land. Before British rule, the size of this area varied in Bengal, and British standardized it to about 1/3 of an acre. So it's a unit for measuring, for the measurement of the land. Okay. Here, this meant that a planter with 1,000 bigas would need 2,000 plows, because 1 biga requires 2 plows. That is the reason till the last 19th century the planters, they were therefore reluctant to expand their area under niche cultivation. But the rest was under an alternative mode of cultivation, that is the Rayoti system. Now let's understand indigo on the lands of ryots. What was there in that system? Under the Rayoti system, the planters forced the ryots to sign a contract, or it can be called as an agreement. The that is satta. Then what was happening in that? The village headmen, they pressurized the village headmen to sign the contract on behalf of the ryots. Ryots means the cultivators. Those who signed the contract got cash advances from the planters at low rate of interest to produce indigo. But the loan committed the ryot to cultivate indigo on at least 25% of the area under his holding. This was the condition that was put up there. Like they should at least cultivate the 25% of their area. The planter provided the seed and even and the drill also. Then while the cultivators prepared the soil, sowed and seed, and looked after the crop. So this is what happened. But then again, what was the problem faced here? When the crop was delivered to the planter after the harvest, a new loan was given to the ryot again, to the cultivators. It means that loan cycle was going on continuously, and the cycle started all over again. See, peasants who were initially tempted by the loans soon realized how harsh the system was. The price they got for the indigo they produced was very low, whereas the loan amount, the cycle of loans was also never ending. The interest that we were paying on that loans was very high. So there were other problems too. The planters usually insisted that indigo be cultivated on the best soils in which peasants prefer to cultivate rice. But they were preferring to have the rice cultivation also. So indigo moreover had deep roots and it exhausted the soil rapidly. Now let's see what were the problems. These were the problems faced by the indigo cultivators. Indigo from that income from the indigo cultivation that they were getting was very less. Even land became infertile, that was unsuitable also for growing rice crop, because once indigo plantation was done on that, then the same land was not suitable for the rice cultivation. So cultivators, they got trapped in never ending loan cycle. This was the problem. Now here, how was indigo produced? Children, a short method has been given to you in your textbook also. Like it was actually done. In this, you can see the images that has been given from your textbook only. Women usually carried the indigo plant to the vets. Now, what is that vet wrecker? One person is there. We can see that he has been called as a vet. And the meaning of vet is a fermenting or storage vessel. A wet wrecker, that is the indigo worker here, is standing with the paddle that was used to stir the solution in the wet. These workers had to remain in waist deep water for over 8 hours to beat the indigo solution. It means actually production of the indigo was very difficult task. It was not at all easy for the people to do. Now let me just explain you that how was indigo produced in short. See, after the harvest, indigo was taken to the vats. Vats means you all know fermenting or a storage vessel in the factory. Then 3 to 4 vats were required. That is, the leaves were first soaked in warm water in a vat for hours. It was like it should be done in that way. Then after that, the fermentation, the liquid began to boil and bubble up. Then leaves were taken out and the liquid drained into another vat. That is the beater vat. Okay. Then the solution was stirred and beaten with paddles. The liquid turned green. Then blue lime was added to it. Gradually, indigo separated out in flakes. The clear liquid at the top was drained and sediments were transferred to another vat. That is a settling vat. So 3 to 4 vats were required to do the processing in this. And flakes were then pressed. It were pressed and dried for sale. This is how the indigo plantation was done. But then we saw the people were not happy with that, right? The cultivators were not happy because they were getting very low prices and they were paying the high amount of interest for the loans. Then finally what happened? The Blue Rebellion. And after finally in the year March 1859, thousands of ryots in Bengal, they refused to grow indigo and pay rents to planters. This is what they did. So ryots refused to pay rents to the planters and attacked the indigo factories also. This was known as the Blue Rebellion. Then what they did, they attacked the indigo factories armed with swords and spears, even bows and arrows. Even women turned up to fight with pots, pans and kitchen implements. This is what the rebellion took place there. Those who worked for the planters were socially boycotted, and Gomashtas means the agents of the planters who came to collect rent were beaten up, because Gomashtas, they were collecting the rent from them. When they came to collect it, they were beaten up by the cultivators. And even ryots swore then they would no longer take advances to sow indigo nor be bullied by the planters. Even the lathials means the lathi wielding strong man maintained by the planters, he was also there. Then why did the indigo peasants decide that they would no longer remain silent? Because what gave them the power to rebel? Finally, we can see clearly the indigo system was intensely oppressive for them, correct? That is the reason. But those who are oppressed do not always rise up in rebellion. They do so only at times. See, slowly and gradually a person turns up to be violent in that way. Initially they were quiet, they were trying to cooperate, but then when it reaches to that high level, then really a person has to rebel against it. So this is like in the indigo cultivators also, they had the Blue Rebellion against the planters. So indigo ryots felt that they had the support of the local zamindars and the village headmen in their rebellion against the planters. The indigo peasants were also imagined that the British government would support them in their struggle against the planters. This is what they were expecting. After the revolt of 1857, the British government was particularly worried about the possibility of another popular rebellion. What the news spread of a shimmering revolt in the indigo districts. This is what they have heard about it. The Lieutenant Journal toured the region in the winter of 1859. Then what did he saw there? The Riot saw the tour as a sign of government sympathy for their plight. Where in Barasat it happened, the magistrate Ashley Eden, he issued a notice in which he said that, which states that the riots would not be forced to enter into indigo contracts. So finally that rebellion, they were at the relaxation, because when Ashley Eden of Barasat, he issued an order like this, they should not be forced, cultivators riots should not be forced to enter into the indigo contracts. Now what was that? Indigo Commission was passed at that time. As the rebellions, the intellectuals from Calcutta also, they rushed to the indigo districts. Then the government brought in the military to protect the planters from assault, even set up the Indigo Commission. Now, what that commission said? The commission held the planters guilty and criticized them for the coercive methods they used with indigo cultivators. The planters were found guilty. Even indigo cultivation was not profitable for riots. Even planters were forcing riots to enter into contracts. But then commission asked the riots to fulfill their existing contracts, but told them that they could refuse to produce indigo in future. See, at least the present one, whatever were going on, they have to complete, and the remaining projects, the remaining orders that are in the future, the remaining contracts that they have to sign for the future, that should be avoided. Then after the revolt, indigo production only collapsed in Bengal and it shifted to Bihar. With the discovery of synthetic dyes in the late 19th century, their business was severely affected, but yet they managed to expand production. When Mahatma Gandhi returned from South Africa, a peasant from Bihar persuaded him to visit Champaran and see the plight of the indigo cultivation there. So when Mahatma Gandhi visited in the year 1917, that was marked as the beginning of the Champaran movement against the indigo planters. Now children, today we have completed with the remaining two topics, that is crops for Europe and the Blue Rebellion and after. So here today we have completed with the revision of chapter number 3 of history, ruling the countryside. Go through the main presentations, go through the revision video, prepare yourself well for the exam. All the best. See you in the next session with a new chapter. Till then children, take care.